Michigan's streets hide a grim truth. Homelessness and addiction continue to steal lives in 2025.
I'm just saying, needs to say it was painful. We had the opportunity.
You're doing evil.
What's you driving home, man? Let's go crush the shit out.
Beneath the power of the Great Lakes, thousands wander without shelter, their dreams crushed by rising rents, deep inequality, and the pull of drugs. Homelessness in Michigan isn't a statistic, it's a profound human scar that cuts through communities. From Detroit's icy streets to the secluded camps of Grand Rapids, every face reflects a story of pain. This video exposes the suffering, its origins, and faint sparks of hope calling for action before more lives slip away. How can we transform compassion into real solutions for Michigan's most vulnerable?
My name's Al Lupert. I've been homeless 18 years, and I became homeless due to my alcoholism. I just gave up. When I lost the house and lost my family, I just quit working, quit doing anything that meant anything to me because I had nothing. I've lived underneath bridges in the wintertime. I've lived in tents in the wintertime.
The homelessness crisis in Michigan remains a brutal and unyielding truth. In 2023, 33,226 people were recorded as homeless in the state, marking an 8% rise in just 4 years. By 2024, nearly 1,000 more were added to the count, a grim reflection of a system neglecting its citizens. These figures go far beyond statistics. They embody real people, parents, children, and veterans forgotten by a fractured system, the most fragile among them children. In 2024, almost 40% more kids became homeless, compared to the year before, a devastating surge that reveals the deepening tragedy. Detroit and Grand Rapids stand at the core of this crisis, holding 60% of Michigan's homeless population, where housing costs trap countless families in poverty. But it's not only urban centers in pain. Rural communities face their own hardships, with families sleeping in cars or constructing tents, their suffering hidden by scarce shelter options. In 2024, more than 8,000 individuals were documented in Michigan's point-in-time survey, mirroring the broader national emergency. What's even more alarming is how homelessness is evolving. While veteran and senior homelessness has fallen, young families, especially multiracial ones, face growing danger. In 2024, homelessness among young families rose by 28%, fueled by financial strain and weakened support systems after the pandemic. In Detroit, the count of unsheltered people has doubled since 2015, forcing many to face Michigan's brutal winters outdoors. Meanwhile, rural regions endure an unseen struggle. Families packed into small homes or drifting between couches remain uncounted but equally distressed. These totals keep rising because of systemic collapse, an economy that excludes many, a shortage of affordable homes, and the ongoing grip of addiction. It's time to face these harsh facts and push for lasting change. Addiction casts a long, unrelenting shadow over Michigan's homelessness crisis, a dark current dragging lives beneath the surface.
My life was pretty much out of control and had been for quite some time. Ended up spiraling out of control with drugs and alcohol, I eventually lost everything, apartment, all belongings. Ended up trying to commit suicide.
Across the state, 30–40% of homeless individuals battle substance abuse, with opioids and methamphetamine fueling much of the destruction. In Detroit, the fentanyl wave has turned city blocks into war zones, taking more than 2,000 lives from overdoses in 2023 alone. For countless people, addiction serves as both a root and result of homelessness. Losing work due to drug dependence can trigger eviction. Life on the streets then worsens reliance on substances as a temporary escape from misery. Only 12% of Michigan residents facing addiction receive treatment, leaving many trapped within an endless cycle. Homelessness in America often carries this double-weight: housing instability and untreated addiction, making recovery feel impossibly distant. The human cost is devastating. Those battling addiction while homeless face a death risk 10 times higher than the general public, with women and Black residents suffering the most. Programs like Housing First, built on the idea of securing housing before treatment, falter when recovery services remain out of reach. In Grand Rapids, makeshift tent camps have emerged filled with people hooked on meth or opioids, abandoned by a society that judges harshly but helps slowly. These aren't just statistics, they're lives like Bree's, whose spiral into addiction began with years of childhood trauma and abuse. Turning to cocaine and crack in her teens to numb the pain, she eventually lost her home and her 4 children. She recalls being consumed by guilt, drifting further from her loved ones, and engaging in dangerous acts just to buy drugs.
I'm ashamed of my drug use and where it's brought me at this point, and I don't feel like, sometimes don't feel good enough to be with them. You know, I don't want to, they don't deserve to see me in this way.
Though she believes she's worthy of a better future, Bree, like many, faces immense barriers to healing, unsure where to begin after years of loss.
I do want to stop, but it's like, it's hard. It's kind of like it's been so much damage and things have gone so wrong that it's like you kind of don't know where to start.
What happens when we ignore the divide between addiction and housing? The result is inevitable. The cycle endures, and more lives slip away. Michigan's opioid epidemic, intensified by poor access to mental health care, forms a deadly storm. Treatment programs lack funding and waiting lists drag on for months. For someone like Bree, desperate to rebuild but without a home recovery, feels like chasing something that keeps disappearing. Yet addiction's damage extends far beyond individuals. It spreads through communities, worsening the homelessness crisis at large.
Some people are eating, some people are smoking.
To grasp why this issue feels so impossible to solve, we must dig into the deeper roots pushing people like Bree toward the edge. Homelessness in Michigan didn't emerge overnight. It's the outcome of decades of economic hardship and entrenched social problems. The housing market has turned into a trap for many. Over the past few years, rent for a one-bedroom apartment has surged by 36%, while the minimum wage remains stuck at just $12.48 an hour. In Washtenaw County, conditions are even more severe. To afford a modest 2-bedroom home, one would need to work 99 hours each week. With inflation holding steady at 4.8%, rent has become a crushing weight that only the lucky can manage. More than half of Michiganders live paycheck to paycheck, and a single unplanned cost, a medical bill or car repair, can push them into homelessness. For countless families, becoming homeless isn't a remote fear. It's a single paycheck away from reality. But money isn't the sole factor. Michigan's legacy of redlining and mass incarceration has inflicted deep wounds, particularly on Black and Native American populations. These communities are still disproportionately affected by homelessness today. Domestic violence is another driving force, with countless women and children escaping abuse but unable to find safe, affordable housing. The end of COVID-era reliefs, such as eviction moratoriums and emergency rental aid, has only deepened the crisis. In Detroit, the number of homeless children hit historic highs in 2024, a heartbreaking sign of how fragile life becomes without a safety net. Mental health care also lies at the center of the issue. For many, untreated trauma, anxiety, or depression leads to job loss, overdue bills, and eventual eviction. The lack of accessible mental health support means those struggling are more likely to fall through society's cracks. In a nation that prides itself on fairness, how can one unexpected crisis destroy a family's stability so quickly? Stigma surrounding homelessness adds yet another layer to the struggle. In rural towns with few shelters, families cram into small spaces or sleep in their vehicles. Though these families often go uncounted in official reports, their suffering is undeniable. In cities like Grand Rapids, one of the toughest rental markets in the U.S., housing discrimination is widespread. Young people, especially LGBTQ+ youth, face rejection from landlords and even their own families. Marcus, a young man from Kalamazoo, was expelled from his home for being gay and now drifts from one couch to another. His story reveals that homelessness isn't solely about income. It's also about acceptance, community, and access to opportunity. Economic, historical, and social forces are colliding, tightening their grip on Michigan's most fragile communities. The homelessness crisis in Michigan doesn't just harm those without shelter. It sends tremors across entire communities, unraveling the bonds that hold society together. For individuals, the impact is devastating. Life on the streets or in unstable housing destroys physical health, with chronic conditions like diabetes and heart disease becoming far more dangerous without ongoing care. The threat of premature death hangs heavy, particularly for those battling addiction or mental illness. Children. The most defenseless victims endure a uniquely harsh reality. Across Michigan, thousands of homeless students miss school, constantly their education shattered by instability and fear. Research reveals these children are twice as likely to drop out, trapping them in a relentless cycle of poverty. Homelessness in America is more than a passing struggle. It's a destroyer of potential, robbing the future from those who need it most. Communities carry the weight as well. Michigan's poverty rate at 13% surpasses the national average, and homelessness worsens the strain on public services. Hospitals are overwhelmed with uninsured patients suffering from untreated illnesses born of life outdoors. Crime rates rise in places where desperation grows, not because the homeless are criminals, but because survival forces impossible decisions. The financial toll is immense. Michigan spends millions yearly on emergency aid that could be redirected to prevention. Yet the greater loss is human. Take the story of Maddie, a man interviewed while homeless in Detroit, who returned to the city after facing parole-related legal troubles. His criminal record and lack of housing made stable employment nearly impossible. Despite his effort, he described enduring long commutes for a construction job without even a place to shower.
Sleep on the steam drain for warmth, panhandle for money, for food and whatnot, with zero overhead. I mean, it's not totally impossible.
His life isn't merely a number, it's a vivid reminder that when barriers keep people from simply working, and having a home, society bears the cost. How do we restore trust in our communities when so many suffer openly unseen and unheard? The ripple effect goes beyond budgets or policy. It's a moral fracture. Neighborhoods grow desensitized to the sight of tents, and empathy fades as frustration takes root. In Detroit, where the unhoused occupy abandoned buildings, the city's comeback feels empty to those left out. In rural regions where help is scarce, struggling families fade from view, their pain unnoticed. This is more than a policy shortfall. It's a failure of empathy. Every tent, every car-turned shelter reminds us that a nation's strength is reflected in how it protects its most fragile people. Still, amid the suffering, there are attempts to heal the divide efforts led by a government that's trying, though too often falling short. Michigan's government, alongside federal initiatives, has intervened to confront homelessness, though the outcomes remain uncertain. Programs such as Housing for Health and the federal All Inside initiative set bold objectives aiming to cut homelessness by 25% by 2025. In Detroit and Grand Rapids 518, new affordable housing units were added, supported by $40 million in funding from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development HUD in 2024. The Housing First approach, which prioritizes stable housing before tackling addiction or other challenges, has produced encouraging results. Since 2015, it has placed 2,000 veterans into permanent homes. The Ending Veteran Homelessness campaign has delivered major progress, reducing veteran homelessness by half, a rare bright spot in a grim landscape. Local organizations like the Community Housing Network are stretching every dollar, expanding shelters and essential services that provide lifelines for struggling individuals. Yet, there's a problem. Despite the importance of these efforts, the system is far from functional. Federal homelessness funding has fallen 10% since 2020, creating shortfalls local governments can't absorb. Coordination among agencies often falters, causing delays that leave people waiting too long for assistance. Out of the 5,000 affordable housing units planned in Michigan, only 1-200 are complete, stalled by red tape and soaring construction expenses. Addiction treatment vital to breaking the cycle is still severely underfunded, with just 12% of those in need receiving care. People like Sarah from Grand Rapids are left behind. Looking to Utah's Housing First success, where chronic homelessness fell by 70% through combined addiction support, shows what can be achieved. Michigan could replicate that success, but doing so demands more than promises. It requires serious funding and sustained action. The state must commit to pursuing meaningful reform, even if that means setting politics aside. Though well-intentioned government responses often feel more like patches than true solutions. Policies exist, but they fall short of addressing the enormity of the crisis. Michigan's officials speak of fairness and recovery, yet the sight of tents along the Grand River or families in abandoned Detroit lots tells another truth. Yes, progress exists, but it's fragile. Without long-term dedication, it risks becoming just one more unfulfilled pledge. And as we confront these systemic shortcomings, I want to pause and consider what this crisis means both to me and hopefully to you. As someone who has witnessed Michigan's ongoing battle with homelessness, this crisis feels profoundly personal. Growing up in a small town, I remember how neighbors would unite to support a family who lost their house in a fire. There was a real sense of belonging, then a belief that no one should face hardship alone. That memory shaped the person I've become. But today, when I see encampments in Grand Rapids or families hiding in Detroit's shadows, I can't help but wonder where that spirit of unity has gone. Homelessness in Michigan, especially in a state so proud, isn't merely about policies or programs. It's about our shared humanity. I've walked past people like Marcus, a young man from Kalamazoo, and felt the crushing weight of their invisibility. Each encounter reminds me that our systems have failed them, and failed those of us who still believe in justice and compassion. This crisis stirs something even deeper, a fear that we're losing our collective sense of empathy. When a child skips school because they're sleeping in a car, or a veteran succumbs to despair, it's not just their tragedy, it's ours too. I'm convinced we can rise above this, not because it's simple, but because it's the moral path forward. Michigan's beauty, its lakes, its forests is immense, but so too is our potential for kindness. We must expect more from our leaders, more affordable housing, more addiction recovery programs, more fairness. And we must expect more from ourselves. If we turn a blind eye, we allow this wound to deepen. This isn't just a video, it's a call to act to rebuild a Michigan where no one is left behind. Michigan's homelessness crisis, with 33,000 people battling addiction, poverty, and systemic neglect, is a deep wound we can't ignore any longer. But hope still exists. With the addition of 518 new housing units, national initiatives to combat homelessness, and approaches like Housing First, we hold the means to create meaningful change. Yet tools alone cannot solve this issue. It falls on us to back policies that emphasize affordable housing volunteer with groups like the Community Housing Network, and elect leaders who truly prioritize people. A home isn't a privilege, it's a basic human right. From the freezing streets along I-75 to the comfort of real homes, we can shape a Michigan where everyone matters and belongs. The journey toward change starts with us, and it starts today.